Warning! You know about cloning. The original must exist somewhere.
So anyone who holds an interest in video game culture or media has definitely heard of Sonic. Even if you haven't played any Sonic games, you have to at least be aware of his influence. At the start of the 90s, SEGA smelt a boatload of cash that could be made by creating a character to compete on the same front with Mario. SEGA wanted to create the next titan of gaming, a franchise that would sell millions. Hirokazu Yasuhara, Yuji Naka, and Naoto Oshima are commonly credited as the primary developers of the first Sonic game, a phenomenal game that made a huge divide in the gaming subculture. You had the Sega fans and the Nintendo fans. But as games like Crash Bandicoot and Mario 64 were paving the path for 3D platforming games to burst onto the scene, Sega had to meet the mark if they wanted to stay relevant on the gaming scene in the late 90s. This led to the inevitable creation of the Sonic Adventure series, after Sonic 3D Blast of course, but we don't talk about that one. Following Sonic Adventure 2, Sega became a third-party game developer and wanted Sonic Team USA to work on a game that would be Sonic's first huge multi-platform release. And I'm not talking about porting Sonic Adventure 2 to the GameCube in 2001. No, this was going to be the first Sonic game on the PS2, GameCube and Xbox. The Sonic game that a lot of people my age could really appreciate. That's right, I'm talking about Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes acts a little differently to other Sonic games. In addition to having one big overarching story, we have 4 separate stories with different teams, but the gameplay is mostly the same. In each team, you traverse the same levels, all with the same objectives, being reaching the end of the level, besides Team Chaotix, but I'll get to them later. Team Sonic, featuring Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, is the basic, most natural team, aimed at people looking for that traditional Sonic experience, with challenge applied sufficiently and levels of a consistent length. Team Dark, featuring Shadow, Rouge and E123 Omega, has gameplay that's noticeably harder than Team Sonic's. There are more enemies, with more of them having shields, and levels are quite a lot longer. Team Rose, featuring Amy, Cream with her Chow Cheese, and Big, is the newbie team. These levels are a lot shorter, and there isn't really any challenge here. To be honest, this is more aimed at kids. I mean, it's the only one I could beat as a kid.
Yeah, because that's totally relevant.
Finally, there is Team Chaotix, featuring Espio, Vector, and Charmy. All of these teams can feel different and provide a unique experience for the player. This appeals to players of all ages and skill bases, with Team Rose for literally every player, then Team Dark for the more seasoned players. Now let's get into the real grit. As I mentioned, we have different teams to play around with here. Each team has 3 different characters, one for speed, one for flight, and one for power. Speed characters can utilise their fast speed in different ways. They can ring dash, tornado spin, homing attack, and even turn invisible in some cases, just to name a few. Flight characters, as the name implies, can fly. They can recover from death pits or fly to areas that other characters can't reach, or shoot their teammates as an offensive attack, which becomes really overpowered later on. Power characters are stronger than the other two, generally. They can clear out hordes of ground enemies with ease. They can also break strong walls or floors, glide over air vents, and open large doors. But since power characters are now a thing, enemies have health bars, because what's the point of switching to a power character for a quicker fight, if every enemy could be one-shot by the homing attack? Don't get me wrong, I agree with the idea to add health bars to enemies. It advances what was kind of a flawed combat system, but it slows down the pace of the game a lot. And even if there weren't any enemies to slow you down, you would still be fighting an uphill battle with the physics. Sonic Heroes has no bearing on speed. One minute you could be airborne or falling with very little horizontal movement, and the minute you touch the ground, you shoot off in a direction because the game decided to.
Oh, what the Dude, the game decided that the direction I was going.
This gets very annoying, and is one of my biggest complaints about the game. But not the biggest, we're not there yet. Foreshadowing. Making small movements as the speed character is never easy. Imagine playing Spyro, but your charge was replaced with a supercharge. When charging long distances, this would be really cool. You would actually save a lot of time. But if you charge at the wrong time, you're dead. If this was the case, you probably wouldn't charge anywhere, out of fear of losing control and dying. But you can die during these scripted sequences, where you're not even meant to be controlling the game.
With the camera. For God's sakes. What?
Dying is bad enough because it resets all of your levels, but dying to something out of your control just sucks. Oh wait, levels? Yeah, Sonic Heroes has this level up mechanic where you can progress your character's abilities temporarily while in the stage. Collecting these coloured circles adds a level to your team's corresponding character. Leveling up a character increases the obvious, improved flight, faster speed, more damage, etc. Levels play a significant role during gameplay but don't carry on to the next stage, and as previously mentioned, reset upon death. This is a good idea on paper, but in practice, the player will lose many lives to deaths that they had no part in. The control on the speed, or a lack thereof in this case, really presents itself as an issue. There are a couple of additional gameplay styles thrown into these levels. Some of them don't really control well either. Soaring, helicoptering and bobsledding all control relatively well, but the pinballing is shit. You have to control pinball flickers and shoot your team up a pinball board to progress through the level, but there's too much shit inside the pinball machine to actually have a clear path for the player. The rail grinding can also be buggy, like sometimes you can fall through the rails.
Wait, what? Hold on, what?
Not a huge fan of the casino and canyon stages because of this, but I digress. This can't really demerit the effort that's been put into bringing these environments to life. The art direction for this game is very interesting actually. Choosing to stick with familiar themes might have helped the game in the long term. The themes used are already established staples of the series, like a seaside zone, casino zone, city zone and jungle zone. Stages are split into two acts as they were in the classic 2D games, with the first one introducing set pieces and themes, and the second one introducing the challenge. Look at Frog Forest and Lost Jungle for example. The first is a lot more vibrant, and slowly introduces the player to these frogs that can transform the environment when interacted with. The second introduces black frogs that do the opposite. You're familiar with the idea, and the level design is confident enough to build on it. That's not to say that the second act is afraid to introduce new ideas or set pieces though. I mean, Lost Jungle has a whole ass alligator / crocodile / who gives a fuck chase sequence at the end, which isn't hard, but surprised me, and I appreciate it. Though I can't mention how this game looks without mentioning how this game sounds. The music in this game is amazing. I actually listened to it a lot while writing the script and editing the video. Jun Sinao, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, composed most of the music for this game, and it definitely sounds like the music out of a Sonic game. Mystic Mansion in particular is my favourite. It sports a good mesh of instruments with reverse cymbal shots and well-timed bell chimes to create the eerie tone that is also found throughout the level. All of the tracks cover different styles of music. Lost Jungle is more percussion focused with the drums, but has some bass backing it, while Grammetropolis is more techno and electronic. I do believe that this game's soundtrack is one of its main strengths actually. In my opinion, it never gets repetitive, and I could probably listen to it for a long time. This game's soundtrack is one of its biggest boasts if you ask me, and is probably the one thing you could not fault the game on. You could easily fault the game on the Team Chaotic stages though. No, I didn't forget. Every team has near identical gameplay where you traverse a linear world from point A to B in search of the goal. Well, Team Chaotix features mission-based gameplay, which means that instead of having to reach the end goal of a level, you have to do arduous and quite questionable tasks, like collecting 10 hermit crabs, collecting a certain amount of keys, or blowing out 60 torches. You literally cannot make this shit up. It could make for a nice change of pace, seeing as all the other teams are basically the same, but it just becomes repetitive. Some of the stages are even longer than Team Dark's, which the game claims to be the hardest team for the most skilled players. When you beat all of the levels and bosses on a team, the game will encourage you, I use the word encourage very lightly here, to try another team. Now who in their right mind would do so? After spending about 18 hours beating every team, you're told to collect every emerald to proceed to the last story. Yes, even if you beat every team, by the game's standards you're still not done. So how do you go about getting these emeralds anyway? Well, every stage has a key, and if you pick up this key and get to the end of a stage without getting hit, then you have a chance to get one of the 7 emeralds. You have to boost down a tube and catch this emerald flying away, and who made this? Who thought that this would be fun? If the game expects you to stay around after beating every team to finish the story, they shouldn't lock it away behind this shit. The ultimate ending to the story isn't anything great anyway. I won't spoil it here, but it's a shitty excuse for a boss. Just search it on YouTube or something. With me saying all of this about the game, and weighing out the pros and cons, you would probably assume that I hate this game. But no, I don't love this game, but I don't quite hate it. I believe that if you are just completing one team of choice, rather casually, it can be a good experience, but the stuff that this game expects you to do with the tools it provides you is pretty ridiculous. This game can definitely not be enjoyed by everyone, which is a shame because the game does so much to appeal to a casual audience, while still trying to keep the more engaged fans hooked in. But that's Sonic Heroes. It has to be said that despite all of the obvious flaws one can pick out about this game, I still found it somewhat enjoyable to revisit. Consider what was mentioned previously. The first team was fun. Everything after that was nowhere near as fun, but I mean I enjoyed it. Anyway, this concludes my review of Sonic Heroes. I'd give it a comfortable 6 out of 10, on the good side of the scale, but the bottom of the good side. I would still recommend that everyone tries this game even if you've never played it, but don't be surprised if you're less than satisfied with it. Feel free to check out some of my other videos, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'll live stream on here whenever I feel like it, but I'll usually announce it in my Discord server beforehand. Link to the server's just down there. My name is Flynny, and this has been a review of Sonic Heroes. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.